What's up and welcome back, first class fans. Once again, it is time to talk everything that's happening all across the first class league. That's right, we've got matchups, we've got news coming your way. As always, I am the man to bring it to you. I am the Elk, joined this week by my regular co-host Ryan Permison on the show, and our super producer Chris Barnes is here. Unfortunately, our numbers guru, Keith Kilduff, cannot join us this week. So we've got a very special guest coming on the show. He is the scion of Sinister. He is an absolute mainstay in the FCL. So let's warmly welcome him. Let's tent our fingers for our excellent guest. Mr. James Shimo will be joining us on the show to talk all things FCL. Everything is going down, and we've got news, we've got matches, we've got stuff about warfare coming your way. So let's kick into it and tell you everything that happened this week in the FCL.
Sorry, everyone. Sorry.
Wow.
Well, we're leaving that in the edit, folks. That's definitely going to stay on. Thank you.
That'll make my edit easier now, actually. So,
yeah, that'll be a blooper reel of 2021.
Beautiful work, gentlemen. It's a great start to a great show, and I want to say hello to everybody who's here today. As mentioned, the FCL, lots of exciting things going on as we build towards warfare, and of course, here to discuss it, let's say hello. Ryan Permison, our regular co-host, he's coming back on the show. Not always here, but when he is, it's a pleasure for everybody. Ryan, welcome back to this week.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. It's great to be back, and the week I come back, Keith takes the week off with no excuses, and the guest we wanted to book originally on this show for this particular week of This Week in the FCL is not the one I wanted to look at right now. But you know what? I'm going to make the most of it. I'm here to do the work. I'm here to outwork everyone to the best of my ability. And we're going to have some great times talking about this great week that we had with matches in regards to the FCL. Am I right, Andrew?
You are absolutely right, Ryan. As always, love your enthusiasm and our very special guest. Let's say a warm welcome to him. Some competitors are fashion forward. This man is faction forward, building the Sinister Syndicate and making sure that he's always in the center of the conversation, whether it's competing in multiple divisions or just running things behind the scenes with his own band of misfits. Everybody, please put those hands together out there and say hoorah to Mr. James Shimo.
Always a pleasure, Andrew. Although, let's face it, with the shots that Ryan has taken at me so far today, let me just say, it's no great thing to look at your face either. So I guess that makes it equal.
Well, this is what I love about Shimo, always speaking his mind and telling you what's going on. Speaking of everything that's going on, of course, folks, we always start off by breaking down the news of the week and having a little bit of a discussion about everything that's going on. Can't wait to get Shimo's opinion on it, and Ryan and Chris also here along with us. So let's get into the news if we can. Number one, some sad news, but also a silver lining as Late to the Party announces they will be retiring from the FCL. Oh, that's too bad. But they will be facing off civil wars all the way around, not just the Atoms anymore, because Late to the Party will be facing off at the big event to end off our year, FCL Warfare. Great match being added to the card, and I'd love to hear what you have to think about it. And let's start with our special guest, Mr. James Shimo. Late to the Party, you've run into Vanessa and Robert before. What do you think of this matchup?
I mean, it's a tale as old as time. Partners who have been there watching each other's backs for the longest time. Now they want to figure out who actually has the ultimate knowledge, who ultimately stands at the top of the mountain when it comes to who is superior. And personally, I'm all for it. You know, it's a shame that they're retiring because I would have liked to get a crack at both of them at one point or another. But, you know, sunrise, sunset, things happen. I would have also liked to have gotten a crack at Roka at least one time or two. But, of course, we know what's happening there as well. But, you know, all you can say is these two have definitely earned their stripes when it comes to not only being fans of the movie Trivia Schmoedown, but also being competitors here in the FCL. So to see them riding off into the sunset, I don't often give, you know, compliments to my competitors, but I will give them this. It has been a pleasure to watch them play. It has been a pleasure to get to know them, and best of luck to you in whatever your future endeavors happen to be. Mazel tov to you.
Well, love them or hate them, they are very entertaining, and they've done a lot in the world of the movie trivia Schmoedown, and of course in the First Class League. So let's go ahead and get an opinion. Vanessa, Robert, you sat down and spoke to Vanessa and Robert, and you are definitely someone who's going to have a strong opinion about this. Ryan.
Yes, I'm saddened, disappointed that we're not going to see more of Robert and Vanessa as competitors moving forward. But for them to wrap things up with the Civil War, that's fine. Whoever wins, it's the people. The millions of people out there who are going to win watching this matchup between two of the best in the world, in my expert professional opinion. So I'm looking forward to seeing the match. They're gonna, they're gonna go off to greener pastures with their YouTube channel and other stuff that they're working on. I respect them for that. I wish them all the best moving forward. But man, Robert, I asked this question to him on Twitter. He hasn't responded yet. Robert, you gotta answer me this one question. Just this one question. Where on earth did you get that Captain Ron T-shirt that you were wearing in that promo? Because to me, Captain Ron is one of the most underrated comedic gems of all time. And I think it's one of Kurt Russell's most underrated films in his filmography, if I'm saying so myself. So, Robert, get back to me on Twitter. Let me know where you got the shirt so I can wear it in support of the 1992 classic known as Captain Ron. Other than that, I wish them all the greatest and the best moving forward. It's going to be a great finale for them with that Civil War. I mean, I don't really care who wins or loses because it's just going to be fun. It's just going to be fun. Who knows? Maybe Sam Levine will be calling the match with Steph Sabral, and Brad Gilmore can take the week off. Because, we all know Robert has an affinity for something called The Usual Suspects with that coffee bud. So we shall see. Anything is possible.
Well, that's why we love you, Ryan, always with the hot takes. That's right. Sam Levine may be calling the match, but from the promo, it sounds like he's not calling back Robert. And one more thing you said that I think applies, underrated comedy gem, Captain Ron. Well, some people, Chris, would say that Vanessa and Robert, underrated comedy gems when it comes to players, not only in the FCL, but in the Schmoedown as well. Thoughts on the retirement of Late to the Party?
Yeah, there's not much more I can say that hasn't been said already. Obviously, it's sad to see them go, but it's quite exciting to finally see them go head to head and see, which one of the Lates of the Party comes out on top. But like we said, it's sad to see them go. It would be nice to have had them still around, but they've got to do what they've got to do, and good luck to them.
And good luck. That's right. James Shimo and Chris Barnes wishing you good luck and the best in your endeavors. And Ryan Permison saying it was nice to have you while you were here. We've got Vanessa and Robert heading off. And of course, lots of fans will miss them, but it doesn't mean they don't have great things going on their own YouTube channel with their lives going forward. And I got to say, it is a shame to lose them because it does mean we've got two top flight competitors, two people who are hovering around or right in the center of that main event picture. And it will open up some spots, possibly means some new competitors rising to the top. And I know one man, he's got a faction he's building up. He's definitely excited about that possibility. We will talk more about that as we go on through the show. But best to Late to the Party, Robert, Vanessa, kudos to both of you, and good luck moving forward as we talk about other things that are going on around the league. Next up, we've got a challenge from not your faction, Mr. Shimo, but instead we're talking about another faction, the European Invasion. And we have Sean Wingblade, my favorite competitor, coming into a promo and asking for a matchup against Cat the Mad. I gotta say, maybe I'm not always the most thrilled about matches with Sean Wingblade in them, but this one I'm very excited about. Should be a heck of a matchup. Of course, I could be wrong. Do you agree or disagree, Ryan?
No, I mean, honestly, I'm fine with it. It's going to be a fun match. It's going to be, it's going to be a bit of a faction civil war, so that's fine as long as we're all on the same team here. We know what the goal is take out the Syndicate. By the way, Marvel called. They want their rights back, Shimo. Other than that, it's going to be a fun match. I look forward to it. Some good questions. Hopefully hopefully we won't get too many of those paragraph written questions by PLD. But listen, PLD, I know you're working on your writing skills and you want to write paragraphs for questions. Go right ahead, brother. It's all good. But at the same time, try to keep them short, sweet, to the point. But other than that, I'm not in the backstage area writing these questions like the creative offices are. So I can't really say what goes on within the inner circle of that. But it should be fun. There's no problems here, right, Shimo? There's no problems with this.
Well, he's referring to you, James, so I think I'll toss it right over, but really quickly, right before I get your opinion on what's going on with Cat the Mad and Sean Wingblade, I do want to point out that maybe the second least appropriate person to say these words out loud on the show, Ryan Permison, just said short, sweet, and to the point. James Shimo, how about you show him how that's done? What do you think about this matchup?
Oh, I will be happy to. And by the way, Ryan, my brother is a contract layer. We cleared that with Marvel a long time ago. So why don't you find new material? The point of the matter is this. Am I a little insulted that Wingblade threw out the challenge to Cat the Mad rather than giving me a shot at redemption as I so rightly deserve? Maybe a little. But the bottom line is this. As long as these two groups are tearing each other apart and their focus is diverted from my plans and everything I've got going on in the Intergeekdom division, then I have no qualms about it whatsoever. Tear each other apart, expose each other's weaknesses, because it's only going to benefit me in the long run.
Oh, see, that's how you do it. You make your point, you head on out, and always leave them wanting more. And since they do want more, let's go to an expert in this field, a man who's got strong opinions and never sits on the fence. Chris Barnes, Cat the Mat, Sean Wingblade. You know what I'm going to ask you. Who's going to take this matchup?
I don't know which way I'll go. I mean, I'll probably lean on current form. I'd lean towards Sean for taking the win on this one, but I'm not sure when the match is going to take place. I presume it's next week because it's not been announced for the for warfare, so I presume it's next week, but it's not been officially confirmed yet. But it's just a match I'm looking forward to anyway.
Well, it should be a good one, I suppose, and it is going to be warfare. Whether or not it actually falls on the night of the event, I'm sure Cat the Mat and Sean Wingblade both very hungry for a victory. And you said it yourself, Chris, they're both incredibly nice people, which means I am not looking forward to it all that much. I want to see people, as you know, bathe in the blood of their enemies, eat their hearts, and gain their strength. And I don't see either of these competitors doing that, but they'll answer some questions. They'll get a match in, and hopefully everybody has a good time with that one. But it should be a fun match. We're going to check that one out sometime in the next couple of weeks. But 2 weeks from now, 3 weeks from now, whatever it is, very soon, we know this one for sure. It's locked down. We have the event. We have the competitors. It's been written in stone. And there's no way I'm not going to a competitor in the FCL first to get their opinion on this because it's been a long time coming. James Shimo. Finally, we know who will take that shot at ZaFlertinFlouse. The league has been chomping at the bit. Every single competitor wants a piece of the Flouse. So what does the commissioner do? That's right. Self-interest wins the day as he books himself into a matchup for the singles championship against ZaFlertinFlouse. Brad Gilmore, the boat, versus the Flouse, the incredible invasion of sound from across the pond. Who's going to take it? How's it going to go down? And are we all living in Crazy Town? James Shimo.
We may or may not be living in Crazy Town, in fact, but I will go ahead and say, to paraphrase the great Hulk Hogan, what you gonna do, ZaFlertinFlouse, when Brad Gilmore's egomania runs wild on you? Because that's exactly what this is. Brad, what are you doing, Bubby? Come on. There are so many other people deserving of a shot at ZaFlertinFlouse, and yet you decide to take the Vincent Kennedy McMahon, Shane McMahon best in the world approach and book yourself in the match? Like, honestly, if people didn't think you were so full of yourself from that stinking haircut, imagine what they think of you now. Come on. Like, what sense does this make? Is your ego that bruised? Are you that butthurt by the fact that ZaFlertinFlouse got one over on you? This makes absolutely zero sense. But you know what? If myself and the Syndicate have anything to say about it, this is not going to stand. Mark my words.
I knew you'd have a strong opinion on this one. Now somebody who probably has a colder take, Ryan, we've got our commish taking a shot at the Flouse. I know you're not always a fan of the Flouse, and I do know that you enjoy the work of Brad Gilmore on the desk. So what do you think? Is he going to make it as a competitor? Can he beat the Flouse? Or is this just too much, too fast for a guy who may not have what it takes when it comes to stepping into the ring?
You know, this may be the one and only time on this week's show that I actually agree with the Sinister one, because I got to say this, and I agree with you, Shimo. This is nuts times 1,000. This is if Brian Danielson or Daniel Bryan were here, he would say no. This is not happening. This isn't real. This isn't reality. This isn't real life. This is a joke. Because who thinks this is going to sell a whole lot of tickets? Not many. And if it does sell tickets, it's probably going to be because people want to see who's going to mispronounce their answers, or can you repeat the question? I think you say it this way, and this is how Brad's going to be doing it. So no, just no. This isn't happening. Someone's going to pull the rug from underneath us. Brad's not going to step into the ring. It's going to be somebody else who is very much more deserving and more involved in the FCL than just sitting behind the announcer's desk. Don't get me wrong, Brad. It's one of the most important jobs in the world, and you do a pretty good job of it. But this, Brad, Booby, I'm your white knight. I mean, honestly, I could take out ZaFlertinFlouse with one hand tied behind my back. Seriously. Brad, if you don't do this match, give me a call, because the quote is here, and he's more than happy to step into the ring and take that title from ZaFlertinFlouse and restore some prestige and respect to the game of movie trivia if you put the quote in there. But other than that, no, this isn't real. This isn't the main event. Someone else is going to step in for Brad and take the title away from ZaFlertinFlouse. If it's not me, it'll be somebody else. Who that person may be, I don't know. But quite frankly, I hope it's somebody that's got a pretty good record and knows their stuff to go up against Flouse and take this belt out from under him. By the way, this match will probably be over in 2 rounds anyway. So whoever's going up against Flouse, it may or may not be a walk in the park. But we'll see what happens at Warfare. It's going to be an interesting pay-per-view event no matter what happens, Andrew.
It should be interesting to watch. And you're right, no matter the outcome, it's going to be an interesting matchup for us to take in and see what goes down. James Shimo already indicating that he has plans to help make sure that things go down properly. And Chris, I'm very interested. Ryan just threw something out there. He thinks maybe we're being bait and switched. He thinks maybe Brad Gilmore has been announced, but somebody else will be waiting in the wings to take on ZaFlertinFlouse. Since it's been brought up, I can, of course, mention names like Booker T. I can, of course, mention names in the FCL. There's a lot of competitors there who may be happy to take that shot if Brad is willing to offer it. Chris Barnes, any thoughts? Do you think we will see Brad Gilmore and ZaFlertinFlouse facing off, or will this change up at the last minute? And if so, who's going to be in the match?
If Brad is going to compete in this, I think it's a strange decision. I mean, it is a decision, but it's a strange one. Unless, you never know, we may start getting into the second round and start thinking, hang on a minute, we've had 9 Back to the Future questions already. What's going on here? So you never know. So there could even be that. He is the boss, you know what I mean? He's in charge of everything. So I don't know. Maybe I agree with Ryan. Maybe he competes, maybe he doesn't. I don't know. But I'm just quite interested to see what happens and kind of see the Flouse continue with the title next year.
Well, it is obviously going to be something to look forward to, as will be the entire event at Warfare. I cannot wait to see this matchup. Brad Gilmore, let me just say to you, if you are watching, and I know you are, thanks for coming on our show a while back. Brad, I am jealous of your hair for obvious reasons, and I think that a man who has access to all of the questions, all of the answer documents, well, that's the perfect person to take down the champ that nobody likes. Although I like ZaFlertinFlouse just fine, guys. I really do. Either way, I want to see a victor come out of it. And Brad Gilmore, well, he normally signs off on releasing the checks that Daddy Harloff writes to everybody in the FCL. But today he wrote a check that perhaps he cannot cash going up against the Flouse. We will see how that all goes down at FCL Warfare. And along with all of our FCL matchups and competitors, should be a great one. Fans, I can't wait to check that one out. And for now, that's all the news that's fit to print for this week. We are going to move forward and talk a little bit about all the matches that went down with our breakdowns, brought to you by our very own numbers man. Oh, Chris Barnes.
Another week of FCL action is in the bag, and we are approaching the finish line of the first ever season for the league. We had 2 matches this week, one of which our guest today had a vested interest in, but we'll get to that later because first we had an Inner Geekdom match between Alana Jordan and Matthew Reid. So let's just get straight into round 1. We started off, we had Heroes and Villains, Fantasy Sci-Fi, Graphic Novels, Middle-earth, Batman, Animated, Transformers, and Comic Book Movies as the categories. Jordan started slow. She missed the first question, which was like David Harbour plays who in what 2019 film with Ian McShane? The correct answer was Hellboy. Elena said Black Widow, unfortunately. What 1990 film features performances from Ice-T and Naomi Watts? It was, of course, Tank Girl. Matthew Reid said The Fifth Element. Who plays Evie in V for Vendetta? Natalie Portman, they get that one right, as well as getting right. Deagle is killed by Smeagol. In what movie? It was, of course, Return of the King. In the category of Batman, what is the first film with Chris O'Donnell as Dick Grayson? It was obviously Batman Forever. Matthew Reid gets that one wrong, saying Batman and Robin, which, it's amazing that he remembers that movie over Batman Forever because that's not as good as Batman Forever. But still. Anyway, in The Incredibles, what is Dash's power? They get that one right. It's super speed. And what is the name of the cube the Autobots and Decepticons are looking for in 2007's Transformers, of course, that all spark? Matthew Reid gets that wrong, saying it was Sam's GameCube. So that's not the best miss. But if you don't know, you might as well have some fun with it, I suppose. And the final question was, who designed Cliff's rocket pack in The Rocketeer? It was Howard Hughes. Both got that one incorrect. So Elena finished the round 2 points better off than in last match in the division, which was against our guest today, James Shimo. Matthew Reid actually finished 1 point better off himself, with him ending his first match in the Geeks with only 3 points against John Knight. And he won that match, and he got 3 points in the first round still. So while technically they are both improvements, Ryan, I just want to say you have to think, for any real success in this division, these competitors need to be aiming for the 7 to 8 point mark on a consistent basis in this round 1.
Yes, absolutely, because the questions are going to continue to rise. The questions are going to continue to get a bit more difficult as they roll through with each and every match. Question writers are going to try to test their mettle, as it were. But I will say, great questions, great categories, and if you don't know the answer, at least have fun with it. Reid and Elena were having way too much fun throughout this 3-round matchup, but I love every bit of it. You know why? Because it's good to have fun once in a while, Shimo. Also, the pre-match promos were hilarious. I mean, all the movies she was quoting and watching, they're not even involved in this matchup. And then Matthew Reid is levitating off the ground, wearing a karate gi like he's the next Jedi of the Star Wars, whatever it was. That was awesome. So pre-match promos were great. First round was good. Both players are slowly but surely improving on their rounds, respectively, with each and every match. So kudos to both. I got nothing more to say to that.
Yeah, okay. James, actually, coming to you. Obviously, you faced Elena before. What did you really expect from her coming back into the Geekdom? And does all the puns and everything, all the fun she's having, put you off in the moment when you're facing off against her?
It certainly can if you allow it to. There's just about anything that can put you off in the moment when you allow it to, like missing a question, for example. You can fixate on that, and you can absolutely let that impact the rest of your game. Unfortunately, for Elena, the last time we encountered each other, I was able to put those off to tune her out and make sure that didn't impact my gameplay. But I am fairly certain it probably threw Matthew Reid off quite a bit. As far as the whole GameCube thing, again, very rare occasion. I will actually agree with Ryan. That was a very, very nice little joke there. I fully appreciated that. But as it comes down to it, I think Elena's biggest misstep is she focuses a little too much on the puns, a little too much on the entertainment, not near as much on the knowledge. Me, myself, I got all 9 of those questions correct as I watched this match, and I'm wondering where the heck those were at when I faced Wingblade, but that's besides the point. The point is that overall, there are improvements, and I did expect to see a little bit of improvement from Elena because she is a student of the game and she does love these movies. But I also know for a fact that there are a good handful of the movies in the Inner Geekdom division that she does not care for and does not study near as closely, and that is where this is going to trip you up. You cannot discriminate. You cannot be picky when it comes to studying for Inner Geekdom. You have to absorb everything.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So, Andrew, finally for you on this round 1, how do you think about the round 1? What do you think about the gameplay in this? I know that the gameplay is something that you look at.
I do spend a lot of time looking at the gameplay, and I've got to say about this particular round, honestly, I'm a bit surprised by what you said, Chris, that this has been an improvement for both players because there were a few misses in here that might have been a bit questionable. If you're just looking at sheer knowledge, I don't think you can deny that both of these players potentially have some room for improvement. There may be some minor mistakes made, maybe strategies not played out exactly correctly. That being said, of course, the elk respects above all things when someone sets personal goals for themselves and has their own path to victory. And Alana Jordan definitely succeeding on that in this matchup, especially this first round, really firing off those puns. And as much as I usually don't enjoy sitting down and watching 2 nice people have a movie trivia match, well, when it's these 2, it's a little bit harder to get mad. They really are just having such a good time. They're so into the match the way it is and not really, it seems, too worried when they make a mistake or miss a question. Do I see Matthew Reid or Alana Jordan off of this round or any of their performance so far moving forward into a title picture anytime soon? Maybe not. Do they put on a heck of a show? Maybe so. And in this particular case, that's kind of what matters.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so let's move into the round 2 then. We had a wheel with the makeup of Alien and Predator, Batman, Superman, Spider-Man, Time Travel, Jurassic Park, Marvel, Middle-earth, Mixed Bag, and Who Said It. Now, Matthew Reid, he spun Time Travel, takes a second spin, gets Superman. How does Jonathan Kent die in Superman the movie? He took multiple choice. It was obviously a heart attack. He gets the 1 point for that. How many actors have played Superman Clark Kent? 3. Gets that right, 2 points. In what Superman film does Christopher Maloney play Colonel Nathan Hardy? He takes multiple choice again. Man of Steel. That's the correct answer. He unfortunately said Superman Returns, I believe. And yeah, Elena gets the steal. Steals the 1 point from that one. And what X-Men actor plays the nephew of Perry White in Superman Returns? Multiple choice taken again. The correct answer was James Marsden. Matthew Reid, he said Alan Cumming. Elena again steals the point. Get to Elena's spin. She spins away from Middle Earth. Gets Who Said It. What DC film has the line, where does he get those wonderful toys? It was, of course, Batman 89. Elena said Lego Batman. Matthew Reid failed the steal on that, though, I believe. No, he didn't fail a steal. The answer was accidentally given, and he got a different question later on, didn't he? So then the next question was, who says you got me, who's got you to Superman in Superman the movie? Multiple choice taken again. It was Lewis Lane. You got that right. And what is Jack Sparrow's reply to the quote, he is without doubt the worst pirate I've ever heard of? Well, you have heard of me was, of course, what Captain Jack said. They both got that one wrong. Elena missed it, and then Matthew Reid fouled the steal again. And then who said it to Harry Potter? Fame is a fickle friend. Multiple choice taken is obviously Professor Lockhart. He gets the 1 point on the guess. And then Matthew Reid got the extra question, obviously, for not getting the steal on the first question. It was, in what non-Star Wars film does Harrison Ford say, I've got a bad feeling about this? It was, of course, Kingdom of Crystal Skull. He gets it wrong, just fails to get the steal by saying Raiders of the Lost Ark. Okay, so we end that round. Elena's up 10-7. Andrew, both players drop into multiple choice here in round 2 to varying success. Matthew drops 3 times, but unfortunately still gives up 2 steals. Elena goes multiple choice twice and gets the points. Overall, was this a smart move from them both anyway, even though obviously varying success?
Well, I mean, I think I want to be quick and to the point about this round. I'd say well played by Elena. Good steals in here. I thought there was some good strategy, even when the answers weren't available. She's taking the multiple choice. No shame in that. I think this was a fairly easy round all the way around. But of course, that's personal. I saw a lot of questions that I knew. But if you have to take multiple choice, do so. Don't be ashamed of it. Well played by her. I think maybe there could have been a little more seriousness of intent, maybe listening to the questions better by Matthew. But what I want to talk about most of all, because I know you fans out there saw it, I saw it. I sat on a few desks. I've called a couple of matches, and some of you out there are going, oh my goodness, how could this happen? How could the Stees make such a mistake? How could Steph Sabra slip and give away the answer? Well, let me just say this to you, Steph Sabra, because I like to judge. I like to rip everybody apart on this show. I'm not going to do that today. I know how it is. Everybody I worked with has made that mistake. I've made that mistake. These sorts of things happen. I thought incredibly well handled by Brad. Let's not make a big deal out of this one, folks. Let's pass it right on by. And Steph, do not beat yourself up about it. These things do happen. I just want to throw that out there because I know the pain of making that mistake and feeling like in a moment you've messed up the entire match these competitors are having. Because when you're calling a match, it's not about you. Well, when it was about me, but usually it's not about you. It's about the competitors. And really, you're not throwing them off too much, Steph. It happens to everybody. Just move on. Take it to the next one. Elena and Matthew have a decent round here. I think Elena comes out the better, not just by the points, but by the showing she's got. And kudos to her as well for one final thing, the Marsden pun. Elena, beautiful.
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, James, obviously as the current FCL competitor amongst us here tonight, what is your thought process on whether to spin again? I mean, I presume if you spin the wheel onto the slice that it's your wheel slice that you put on there, you keep it. But, you know, if you kind of get a middle of the road category, one that you may be good at, but it's not perfect, do you risk spinning again and potentially getting your strongest category with obviously there's also been a risk you can end up getting a category that's even worse than what you had to start with?
Well, especially with inner geekdom, it is a very, very fine line because you've noticed in the singles division, like when I got that famous actors and actresses category not too long ago, that just screams way too broad for me and could be any number of people that I could not be familiar with. So, in my opinion, at that point, if it's too broad, if you feel like you haven't done enough with it, or it could just be almost as bad as a mixed bag category, which famous actors and actresses can be, then absolutely move along. Inner geekdom is slightly different because there are several different types of fandoms and several different types of categories that could really hone in your interests. So even if you've got maybe 1 or 2 categories on that wheel that aren't your strongest suits, there are probably about 3 or 4 more that you could potentially land on. So if the odds are in your favor of getting something that is potentially within your wheelhouse, then I say absolutely spin again. As far as the multiple choice call downs that they did throughout each of their rounds, I also think that was a smart strategy because, again, if you're not entirely confident on it, if you feel like, okay, maybe I do know the answer, but I don't want to accidentally say the wrong one, give them a 2-point steal. Obviously, check down the multiple choice. So even if you don't get it right, at least they don't steal something that could put you in a complete doghouse when it comes to knockout territory.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, it's definitely a smart moves with the multiple choices on the questions that you're not so sure about. Okay, so Ryan, have you got any thoughts on the second round before we head into round 3?
No, I just saw that once again, good categories, good questions. You know, if they're not sure about something, always check down the multiple choice. And if you need to have them repeat the question, go ahead and say repeat the question because you need to buy yourself some extra time. It'll make Andrew's week, if not millennial, because he's a big fan of something known as repeat the question. Repeat it, gosh darn it. So, yeah, good rounds, good tunes, good brew, good buddies. I feel great, Aunt Chris, about this round. I feel great. You know, it's Superman. You got other question. Who said it? Who said it? That is my freaking wheelhouse. I live, eat, sleep, breathe quotes, son. So if you
Finally, someone who likes
in
this
my
category.
face 9 times out of 10, I'm going to know it. Granted, I will admit this, Andrew. I will admit this. I didn't know that last one from Wizarding World because Wizarding World, but everything else I would have gotten, no problem. Walk in the park. But great questions, though.
Okay, yeah, so let's head into the round 3. Obviously, Matthew Reed's behind 7-10. So he goes first. He gets his 2-point question correct. Who plays Tyler Rake in 2020's Extraction? It was, of course, Chris Hemsworth. Then he obviously has to get his 3-pointer then to throw it back to Alana in DC Films, who replaced Katie Holmes as Rachel Dawes in 2008's The Dark Knight. It was Maggie Gyllenhaal. He got it wrong. Using a repeat, mind. But he said Rachel McAdams. And then it was down to his 5-pointer to obviously avoid a TKO. Star Wars, who is the first Jedi killed by Palpatine in the confrontation with Mace Windu? It was Aegon Kolar, yeah. He obviously said Kit Fisto and got it incorrect. And Elena's there winning with TKO. Now, I'm a Star Wars fan. You wouldn't think of it because I just couldn't butcher their names a minute ago, but it's fine. But it was a tough 5-pointer for Matthew. And Andrew, I'm going to go to you quickly. I know you're going to be annoyed with this because he was thinking out loud, and he did say to himself, I know all of them. So he's just got to try and think which was the first. He evidently guessed at it, got it wrong. Leaving 2 repeats on the table, though, where he could have given himself more time to think of the correct answer.
Yeah, no, I don't think that you're wrong there. I've said it time and time again. It really doesn't need to be harped on. You definitely have to use those repeats, especially in a round 3. There's never an excuse. You get to your 5-point question. You have a repeat left, and you think there's any chance it can help you make the question. Go for it. You're not shooting yourself in the foot. You're not taking away a resource you need later. All you're doing is giving yourself the best opportunity. And I got to say, it felt to me a little bit like perhaps Matthew Reed still a bit distracted. 3 rounds deep, he's still asking for clarifications. He's still not hearing the whole question, as evidenced by his Chris Hemsworth answer when he answered the question and then had to ask about what was asked to him in order to see if he had heard it correctly, which evidently he had not. So a little more focus this deep into a matchup. You've really got to make sure you're staying alive. I think that lack of a killer instinct is going to end up costing him here. Although I will say, Matthew Reed, your fan casting is inspired. Rachel McAdams in everything. Yes, please, all the time. Absolutely on board with that one. But Alana Jordan taking away a well-deserved TKO. She stayed live in the match. Maybe not the greatest performance ever put up, but that victory, that record book is going to say Alana Jordan TKO win. You can't be unhappy about that. And for someone who's having a good time while they're having the match, hey, maybe sometimes even average play, sorry, Alana, you missed a few things, can get rewarded with a big, big victory. And I'm happy that Alana got that victory. Had a lot of fun with both of these guys. Clearly, there are a few things that could be improved upon. These two could both up their games a little bit, but that's going to be up to them in between the matchups. As far as this matchup goes, very entertaining. Good show from both of them. I think this is a good way to start off a show. Nice undercard.
Absolutely. So, Ryan, have you got anything you want to say about this third round? I mean, I know we were talking off air about that 5-point question of Matthews.
Yeah, we were talking ad nauseum. No, I'm kidding. We had a great conversation. It was wonderful. It was great. But anyway, to the point I'm trying to make here is this. Round 3, that 5-pointer, Reid, it's a tough one, man. It's a tough one. I'm not gonna dog you for it. You know, you're a big Star Wars fan, so for you to lose on a Star Wars question, it's got to sting somewhat. But listen. It's a 5-pointer. It's tough. It's top of the food chain, brother. Yeah. So don't sweat it. You'll come back. You'll have another match. Everything will be fine. But the bottom line here is, and your winner, by way of winning, by a TKO, if I ever heard one, Alana Jordan, finally, is in the winner's circle where she belongs. Because she's so good at styling and profiling. She's so good that she's great at making puns, being the pun-sure. And also bringing in Mars's Den. What is that? I don't care, but it's funny and it works beautifully. So, Alana, some of us here at This Week in the FCL, we like your presentation. We like how, you know, your character and how you're doing. The whole theatrics of you being in the FCL, we like it a lot. But look, I would appreciate it if you could just look. And you said this in your post-match interview. You're going to continue to study. That's good. It's very good. Keep up the studying. Keep up the work. Because if you keep going at this rate and keep improving more and more, we could see the future FCL Intergeekdom World Champion. I would love to see that. If it happens, great. If it doesn't, it's all right. At least she's enjoying herself. She's having fun. She's getting better despite all the health difficulties that she has had to battle through this entire year of 2021, which has been a crazy year already. It's been crazy on steroids, Chris. Crazy. But she is the shining light. She is an entertaining person. She's a wonderful gift that we've been blessed within the FCL. So, Alana, congrats on the deserving victory. You got him in TKO territory. It's great. Wish you the best of luck moving forward. Can't wait to see your next matchup. And hey, if you win again, we'll have to throw an even bigger party for you than we already have on this very program. And if you ever want to come back to the guest spot series, there's always going to be an open seat for you right here at This Week in the FCL. If you ever want to come back, talk about matches you may not have been involved in, but you watched with a very close eye, that's fine. If you were the competitor of that week, we would love to have you on. I think I speak for Chris, maybe not so much Andrew and Keith, but you're more than welcome to be here. So great match, great times. I'm just happy Alana won. I don't know about you, Chris, but man, feels good to have Alana Jordan in the winner's circle.
Absolutely. And after that, that's all we have time for on the.
We don't need to talk about the other match. It doesn't matter.
We definitely need to talk about the other match, right?
I know. I'm not trying to mince words here, competitors. Don't worry. We'll talk about that second matchup because you're just as important as the first one.
Yeah. Okay, before we move on to that second match, James, have you got anything final thoughts you want to say on this first match?
All I will say here are a couple of things. First and foremost, bravissima to Alana Jordan. Well done. You have brought yourself into the winner's circle. Feels good, doesn't it? And now, if I'm not mistaken, you find yourself at a 1-1 record, much like myself, much like the Flying Cow, much like a couple of other competitors in the Inner Geekdom. And all I will say is this, Brad Gilmore, if you're watching this, and I know you are, put them all together. Put us all in a jumble. Let us draw numbers at random. You know I got the endurance. Let's make history. Let's make the first ever Movie Trivia Schmoedown FCL Inner Geekdom Gauntlet match. Put us in there. Put us to the test, and let's see who actually has the stones to call themselves Inner Geekdom Champion.
Well, that just sounds like a fantastic idea. And I know Andrew and Ryan will be very excited about that match.
I absolutely have to agree. I mean, that is a brilliant idea, James Shimo. You've done it again. Where do you get all your wonderful toys and your wonderful ideas? A gauntlet match for the IG title, a whole bunch of great competitors, and maybe even a few of them from the syndicate. Sounds like an idea that I can get behind 100%. I want to see it tomorrow. Obviously, Brad Gilmore, you decide who gets matches. We all saw that with your Warfare booking, but you should probably take a listen to what James Shimo has to say here. Maybe there's some tweaks. Maybe you don't want it exactly this way, but this is an idea that is, to coin a phrase, money. Get on it right now.
I would agree with Shimo for the second time this week. This is money in the bank. So make the millions of people out there happy, Brad Gilmore. Take Shimo's advice. Make it happen. That's all you got to do. Just make it happen.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move on to this main event of the evening from David Campbell taking on the Flying Cow. Now, coming into this match, Campbell had a 2 wins, 2 loss record. Flying Cow, 0 wins, 1 loss. But that loss was against Brennan Moore. I'm getting there. I know what you're going to say. It's not an official record because he wasn't an FCL competitor at the time of the match taking place, but technically. So, but it doesn't really matter about records, is what I'm going to say, because this was obviously a bit more of a grudge match than anything else, with Campbell winning that redemption for faction mate Cat the Mad, who obviously the Flying Cow defeated in a Geekdom division back on FCL22, I believe it was. So, according to all the social media, apparently David Campbell was the clear favourite, which you can maybe would expect with him obviously having a lot more matches in the division in general. But anyway, let's move into round 1. Tim Burton, directorial debut, Pee-wee's Big Adventure. Both correct, I believe, on that one. 2010s, we had The Thriller, has Mila Kunis, Sebastian Stan, Black Swan. Both incorrect with this, actually. Flying Cow saying Jupiter Ascending. David Campbell with no answer at all. How many American Pie films released in the 2000s? The correct answer was 2. It was just American Pie 2 and The Reunion. Both competitors said 3, getting that one incorrect. They get correct that Kenneth Branagh directed The Murder on the Orient Express. They were both incorrect in the category of famous action actresses. The Butler, Love Actually, Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. It was Alan Rickman appeared in all of these. I believe David Campbell may have said Morgan Freeman and Flying Cow said Morgan Freeman. David Campbell said Emma Thompson, I believe. Then in the category of sports, the 1994 film with Charlie Sheen was a Major League 2. Flying Cow was correct. David Campbell said The Rookie, which was obviously incorrect. He also got incorrect the answer of Labyrinth for the 1984 feature film, the characters of Bastian, Atreyu, and Rockbiter, which was obviously the never-ending story, a classic. David Campbell did use his repeat on that, but still just couldn't quite pull it. And then they both got incorrect. The 1997 film features performances from Ryan Philippe and Johnny Gillespie, and it was I Know What We Did Last Summer. So it not exactly a classic first round with a riveting score of 4-2. It was a tough round 1 for David, Ryan.
Yeah, it was. It really was. You know what? But, look, it's, some of these guys, it's been a little while since they've had a match, and sometimes, each competitor studies in their own way, so they may have missed a few. They may regret, like, oh, man, that was, so they're, like, kicking themselves a bit for some of those. I mean, you could tell on camera David Campbell was kicking himself for a few of them, but, it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, is it their highest scoring first round game? Probably not, but, hey, they're still in there. Look at the bright side, Chris. At least round 1 didn't end up in a goose egg. Could have been a lot worse. Am I right?
Yeah, absolutely. It could. Absolutely could. Okay, Andrew. I think it was on question 8, the horror question. David Campbell didn't actually get an answer written down, but he was kind of thinking of it. He was trying to get it, but he didn't get the entire thing written down. Surely he should have taken that repeat there to get that time just to write the answer down.
I mean, you're not wrong about this one. If you're hearing that countdown going and you're writing, I still know what you did last summer, and you're not past the no, and you're down to 2 seconds left, that's when you got to really think about it and say, hey, Am I right? Am I putting the correct thing on this board? And in that split second, if the answer is yes, you've got to ask for that repeat. That's a point basically just given away. And it's got to feel bad for David because he's having the roughest round I believe he has ever had. This is a good competitor. Like, no shade being thrown at David Campbell. I've said some not so nice things about him before, but he clearly knows his movie trivia. He's obviously a person who has those answers in him, is capable of getting them out. And when you're a competitor who knows what you're doing, who knows that you're able to put up a performance, and then you go out and you get 2 points in the round, man, that's got to feel like somebody standing over you, just punching down the entire time. And I feel for David, it's hard not to get in your own head on it. The silver lining for him is the flying cow doesn't do much better at only a 50% rate, but tough first round for both of them. David has a chance to survive from here, but it's going to be hard because I can't imagine either player is leaving round one at a 50% or less hit rate and saying to themselves, I'm playing my best game. I'm full of confidence at this moment. Going to be hard for both going into round 2 and 3 in this matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. And James, obviously the flying cow is one of your faction mates, or your only faction mate that we know of at the minute. Did you give him any sort of pep talks heading into this match, and how did you think he kind of got on so far in this first round, being his first proper singles match?
Oh, we absolutely had talks, study sessions. We train each other up. We make sure iron sharpens iron. There is no doubt about that. Clearly not the greatest start to the match, which obviously had me fairly concerned, but I had faith in the flying cow. I knew, regardless of how much the seething hatred from David Campbell was just permeating not only his space to throw him off his game, but was doing the same to the flying cow. I knew he would overcome that. I knew he would rise above it. And that's exactly what he did. No spoilers here. But of course, when it comes down to it, we will always discuss these sorts of things. We will always restructure, reformat, and move forward. But at the end of the day, it wasn't pretty. It wasn't ugly. It was a pretty ugly round one. But at the end of the day, we move forward, and you don't fixate on what you can't control. You can't control what you miss. All you can do is focus on the next question.
Absolutely. Okay, so let's move into round 2. We had a wheel made up of John Candy, P.T. Anderson, Fast and Furious 2000s, Quentin Tarantino, Black Cinema, Sports, Famous Actors and Actresses, Disney, and Crime. So Cal spins first. He gets Famous Actors and Actresses. He spins again, ends up with Crime. He goes perfect for the first 2 questions, but then he gets repeats and ultimately gets a multiple choice wrong, which was the question, who plays Oliver Charlie Queenan in The Departed? He took the multiple choice. He guessed Mark Wahlberg after using a repeat. It was Martin Sheen. That was then stolen by David Campbell. He got the 1 point steal there. And then in The Mule, Clint Eastwood's character is a veteran of what war? He guessed that the Vietnam War, and a massive steal from David Campbell, getting the full 2 points, guessing into the Korean War, which is fantastic. Campbell then spins P.T. Anderson, who directed this 2002 film with Adam Sandler and Philip Seymour Hoffman. It was obviously Punch Drunk Love. Campbell gets that right, 4 points. He gets wrong who was nominated for playing a motivational speaker, Frank T.J. Mackey, in Magnolia. It was, of course, Tom Cruise. David, I believe, said Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yeah, Hoffman, yeah. And then Flying Cow guessed at John C. Reilly, I believe. And then he got correct what period drama does Paul Dano play twins? And it was, of course, There Will Be Blood. And then he missed, but so the steal was also missed. How many times has he been nominated for Best Picture? Campbell, I believe, said 4. Flying Cow went for 3 on the steal, missed it. It was only actually the 2 times. So, James, this was a little bit of a rough round for the Flying Cow, obviously letting the lead slip that he brought with him from the first round, giving up 3 points on steals, and unfortunately just not capitalizing on Campbell's misses.
Yeah, anytime there's a steal on the table, you always want to try to capitalize as best you can. The only advice I would give him, and I have given him this in, private talks, is that take your time on those steals. Use the time just as much as you would use the time on one of your own questions. Use it on a steal as well, because you've got to think it through. It may seem obvious to you at first, but there are so many other potential actors, especially if they don't add extra context to the question, that could fill that spot. So you've got to take your time. You've got to think it through. Obviously, in one of my last matches, I didn't have an opportunity to steal in any of those situations, but when it came down to it, you've got to take your time. You've got to think it through. You've got to use what is given to you. Obviously, I've shown when I know an answer, I jump in on it because, again, I like to get in my opponent's head. It's like I've got to steal. If I give up these points, then this guy's going to jump on it, especially if he knows it. There's a reason I do that. It's because I want you to know I'm a predator. I'm ready to pounce. You better get it right or you're going to regret it. In this situation, though, when it comes to those steals, especially if you're hesitant, patience is a virtue, and it's not just in life.
Yeah, absolutely. Andrew, it felt like with the Magnolia question that David Campbell really kind of rushed that answer out. I think he should have just been slowing down a little bit there and obviously taking the time he's got.
I can't imagine David Campbell is feeling too good. As I said, coming out of round one with only 2 points, confidence is not there. And yet, I remember watching the matchup. I was surprised when he began the wheel round, when it was his turn to spin, by pointing out, PLD, you forgot to put Harry Potter on the wheel. Well, that means that you didn't choose it as your strength, David Campbell. And I appreciate that you're listening to all the people out there who say he's one note. He only knows one category. Can't he answer questions in anything else? And trying to show off. And you guys know exactly how the Elk feels about a player showing off by expanding out into another category they're not that comfortable with. This is a mistake. David Campbell, do not fall for this. Do not listen to the people out there. If you need to get your points, get them in the category you're good at. Who cares what they have to say about it? And maybe the unearned confidence, maybe use a repeat on a question you're not sure you heard right instead of answering it right away. Maybe, just maybe, come into this round with a little bit of humility based on what just came before. I'm not saying I wouldn't want to recover, and I can see why he's trying to get back into that mindset and really capitalize in round two, return his game to where he wants it to be. But I don't think it happens in this matchup, and I got to say, David Campbell, I mean, you're a great competitor. This match all the way around is just not working for you, and it feels bad. It kind of does.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Ryan, any final thoughts before we move into round three?
No, I would just say, they spun the wheel, got the categories they got, they took their time with some of them. Maybe they should have taken time with others, but at the same time, they're just trying to battle through it as best they can. So my hat's off to both competitors, but they're doing the best they can with what they got. So that's all you can really do, at least during round two. Anyway, round three is make or break.
Okay, so let's head into the final round three of this main event. We had Flying Cow coming out with his 2-point question, getting it correct. Campbell got his 2-point correct. Flying Cow 3-point got it correct. Then David Campbell's 3-point question was in the category of Spike Lee, Lawrence Fishburne and Giancarlo Esposito, starring what 1988 film? The correct answer was School Days. David Campbell gets it incorrect with Do the Right Thing. He then has to go for his 5-point question, which he does get correct. How many feature films has Ben Affleck directed? It was, of course, 4. He got that correct. Going back to Flying Cow for the win on his 5-point question in the category of musicals. What film has the following songs? Blow Me Down, He's Large and I Mean. And the correct answer was, of course, the classic Robin Williams, Popeye. And your winner, it was the Flying Cow. One that I don't think any of us necessarily saw coming at the start of the night. Well, maybe James would have, of course.
Speak for yourself.
Maybe James would have. But I mean, I think last week, on the show last week, we were all kind of predicting it'll be a Campbell for the favourite. And we know the socials, all the polls, Campbell was the favourite all around. So it's a big win. So, Andrew, it is a big win for the Flying Cow.
It is a great win for the Flying Cow. Hey, I may not always say the nicest things about people like David Campbell, but I said it myself earlier today. He is a competitor. We know he's a guy who has a lot of movie trivia knowledge. He's been in main events and absolutely deserved his spot. So for the Flying Cow, this has to be a great victory. Coming in, I'm sure Campbell thought he was going to tan that hide, but instead the Cow tips him and takes the victory in this matchup because Flying Cow, I mean, I was very impressed with his play all the way through this. Not the best first round, but I've got to say, if I give an award out, and in this case, the award is in fact the W in the record books, but if I'm giving an award for the best recovery after a rough first round, yeah, it goes to the Flying Cow. His strategy was on. He was calm and relaxed in the later rounds. And coming from a competitor who I already enjoy as low-key one of the best promo givers in the entirety of the FCL. I mean, he's an utter delight every time he's on the screen, and I could not be happier to see the Flying Cow and the Sinister Syndicate, let's not forgive the great credit there, to take this victory and to come out on top in this episode of FCL. I would not be shocked if we see a whole lot more of the Flying Cow. And for me, hey, make my burger a double. I'm in for this beef. Let's have him back on lots of matches coming forward. Hey, he can start a beef with anybody he wants to. I am in for it. I want to see it again. And congratulations on a hard-fought, well-earned, and absolutely impressive victory by the Flying Cow.
Yeah, absolutely. And Ryan, David, he missed that one question in the third round, which obviously ultimately in the end cost him the match. But unfortunately, we didn't see the David Campbell we're all used to throughout this match, did we?
No, we didn't. We had a bad day. We had a bad day at the office. It wasn't good. It wasn't pretty. I think Shimo can attest to his competitor. They both struggled in the first round. Kind of came back in the second. The third round was make it or break it. This is do or die time. So for him to miss out on this and Flying Cow. By the way, musicals is one of the most dense, deep cut categories in the history of movie trivia. There are 50 billion musicals that only 2.5 people have watched. Okay, that is a dense category for sure. And for Flying Cow to pull Popeye, I believe the late great Robin Williams was in that, if I'm not mistaken. Rest in peace, Robin Williams. I have not seen Popeye, nor do I really have any intention of watching it. Sorry. I grew up on a little bit of reruns of the cartoon as a kid, but I don't really remember much of it. But, all right, Flying Cow, you won. And you won fair and square. So I'll give you that. But at the end of the day, the dynasty may be down, but the dynasty is not out, kid. Just because you beat Campbell in one match, you think the dynasty is dead and buried? Heck no, son. This is just the beginning. David Campbell's in this for the long haul, boy. He's going for that world heavyweight title, and he may get it one day. So Flying Cow, you can celebrate with all your non-existent other flying cows because cows don't fly, really. You can celebrate with Shimo over here. He'll probably throw you a party or something. I don't know. Maybe a masquerade ball somewhere. But other than that, it was a tough day for Campbell. But listen, he's going to pick himself up. He's going to dust himself off, get back to hitting the books, hit the movies, watching them big time. Maybe he'll pull a Sean Wingblade and have his friends throw the Blu-rays at his face for him to remember the facts. I don't know if he'll pull that. Probably not. Don't hurt your head too much, David. You need it for your next 500 documentaries that I know you're in the process of putting together. So focus on that too, David. But other than that, tough day, but he'll be back. Flying Cow, you won. Sinister Syndicate, it took you long enough to finally get in the winner's circle, but you got it. So celebrate it and live it up while it lasts, pal. Because the next time the Sinister Syndicate goes up against the European Invasion or whoever else rolls around, it may not be the same result, Sinister One. So just watch your back. That's all I'm going to say about that. But good match by both competitors, though. And they fought all the way to the end. It came down to the 5-pointer. That's all you can ask out of competitors, and that's all you can ask out of a match. Am I right, Shimo?
I'm sorry, are you done? Okay. First of all, I'm curious if David Campbell used his whatever Wizarding World magic to turn you into a rimmed margarita glass, because you're looking salty as hell. The point of the matter is this. The Flying Cow got the win. All of you out there on socials wanted to go ahead and talk your mess, saying that the Sinister Syndicate's washed up. They're one-trick ponies. They this, that, and the other. You want to denigrate us all you want. Go ahead and do it, because we will be happy to bake you up a nice helping of humble pie and make you all choke on it, which is exactly what the Flying Cow did here today. And it is what the Sinister Syndicate will continue to do moving forward. Now, as far as strategy goes, as far as overall technique, yes, there are some holes that need to be filled, and those issues will be addressed. But make no mistake, when it comes down to Season 2 of the FCL, the Sinister Syndicate will be taking over. The Dynasty, as you mentioned, is down. He's not quite out. Rome wasn't built in a day, nor did it fall in a day. But trust me, it is a slippery slope, and he has taken his first slide on it. So make no mistake, one way or the other, the Sinister Syndicate will run the FCL, no doubt about it.
Okay, well, that's good to hear. And actually, James, like I said earlier, I had a little question sent to me from our absentee co-host Keith. And to be honest, when I first started reading the question, I was kind of surprised. I thought he's being quite nice about things here. It doesn't quite end up that way towards the end. So I'm just going to read it verbatim, word for word, because, this is Keith's words. I don't want to change them or put words in his mouth.
On behalf of the show, I'd like to apologize in advance to you, Mr. Shimo.
Yeah, sure. You go ahead and apologize to James Shimo.
it starts quite nice, right? So the Syndicate are 3-0 up on over the European invasion. Obviously, yourself, you beat Sonny, and the Flying Cows now defeated Cat in Inagitsum and Campbell in singles. But there's no Syndicate members are appearing on Warfare matches. So is it really a successful season? Don't shoot the messenger.
No, I wouldn't dream of it. And, and again, it speaks to someone who, once again, knows absolutely nothing about standing in the ring and actually competing. It shows absolutely that he knows nothing when it comes to overall improvement, strategy, and long-term planning. We didn't decide to come out here this season and actually do what we set out to do. We have taken the slow road because we are patient. Much like the Count of Monte Cristo, we take our time with our revenge and our plans. We don't tell you about it right from the get-go because we want to see the look on your face when you finally realize just how hosed you are.
Okay, well, I think that should wrap up the action from this week in the FCL, and it's time now to look at what's coming up next week in the FCL.
So next week in the FCL, boy, oh boy, did you think the announcement by Robert and Vanessa saying we're going to have an LTTTTTP Civil War was something? No. We're going to have a civil war between brothers. Actual brothers are going at it. You got the Gentleman versus the Revenant, Robert Adams versus Chris Adams versus Robert, whatever, vice versa. You know what I mean. So you got two brothers going at it here. You got the Gentleman versus the Revenant. Should be an interesting matchup no matter what. It doesn't matter who wins or loses. The bottom line is the millions and millions of fans of the FCL and the MTS are going to win by watching this match being put together by the commission, the executives behind closed doors. But with this one, the Gentleman has been slipping as of late. He hasn't been doing quite as well as his brother, the Revenant over there, brother. So in my eyes, if I'm going to put money on this, I'm going with the Revenant in this one. But my question to you, Andrew, are you cool with having another civil war in the FCL coming up very shortly? And also, who you got in this one?
Well, you can call it civil war. You can call it warfare. You can call it anything you want. I'm all up for an armed conflict, especially one where the stakes are so personal and the build is so grand. We've been talking about Chris Adams versus Robert Adams since the very beginning of the league, and finally, it's going down. We've seen over these past 29 weeks a whole lot of disrespect from one of the Adams brothers onto the other one, and you know who I'm talking about. The poor gentleman put down by the Revenant time and again, never given the opportunity that he deserves to shine in this league. I cannot wait to see Chris Adams show up in this matchup and teach Robert what a real competitor looks like in the ring. I am pulling for you, of course. I want to see you take down that victory because a gentleman must always prosper. Either way, whoever takes the victory, this match is one we've been looking forward to for a long time, and I have a feeling the payoff is going to be explosive.
Very much so, very much so. Our guest of the week, the man who's got the spotlight shining on him quite bright, the sinister one known as James Shimo. I got to ask, you cool with the Civil War? And if so, who you got?
Always. It's a tale as old as time itself. From Cain versus Abel, now we go to the Adams brothers. I mean, let's face it. Chris is tired of being in his brother's shadow, and personally, I don't blame him one iota. When you've got someone with an ego the size of Robert Adams, you've got to take him down a peg to prove that you are just as good. There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that he has, yes, to your point, Ryan, he's kind of fallen off the deep end just a hair, but that descent can honestly lead to some of the most revealing truths about a person and actually make you find that extra little something to put you over the top. So when it comes down to it, Chris Adams, I am looking forward to seeing you topple your brother and show just what you can do in the FCL. Bravo, sir.
Ooh, interesting comments from the Sinister one. Well, we'll have to find out what happens when these matches go down on next week in the FCL.
Well, my name is, of course, Andrew. Many people know me as the Elk. You can find me online at Kelk Andrew, K-E-L-K Andrew. We've got some Twitter reach outs, some web pages, and some things that people are doing. So let's go around the horn and quickly discuss what everybody on the show today has going on and where you can find them. First off, our wonderful guest, the man himself, the Sinister King. He is the leader of the syndicate, and he has been a wonderful guest. Thank you for joining us. James Shimo, where can people find you online?
Yes, you can find me at my very own YouTube channel, Schmoedown Productions. That's SHIMONATER Productions. I do watch-alongs to WWE pay-per-views. I do ones for stuff like What If. My buddy Ryan, a.k.a. Caramel Mountain, you've probably seen him in the Twitch chat. He and I will be doing some for that coming up this weekend. We'll also be doing The Witcher Season 2. We'll be doing The Bad Batch. We'll be doing Book of Boba Fett, all of that good stuff as well. You can also find me. I am getting ready to start up my own Twitch channel. It is Tundra_Wolf_Gaming over on Twitch. So be on the lookout for that. I'll be starting that up fairly soon. You can also find me and Caramel Mountain Ryan Payne on the Ship of Jericho, October 21st through the 25th. We will be hanging out on the high seas with the guys like Chris Jericho, Will Ospreay, the Dark Order, Britt Baker, all kinds of fun stuff. If you're a fan and you're there and you want to hang out and you just want to talk for whatever amount of time, always have to share a drink and have a good time. So see us there.
You should definitely check out everything that James Shimo is doing. And hey, congrats to you and your partner. I haven't heard that name in a while, Ryan Payne. I'm sure the two of you are trading war stories about the old elk. There's a name that I am definitely familiar with. What a good guy. Do check that out, folks. Chris Barnes, our super producer, where can everyone find you online?
Obviously at Twitter at @ChrisBarnes_UK and the Movie Barnes on Instagram. And obviously partnering around the This Week FCL Twitter account as well. And hopefully working on a new show for this very channel, but we'll see.
And of course, the man who has the shortest segment whenever we ask this question, Ryan Person. You're not very busy out there, I know, but if there's anything you're doing online you want people to know about, now would be the time.
Yeah, sure. No, this isn't going to be long-winded at all, but I'll keep it short. So you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at RyanRPM5. Check us out on all forms of social media, simply at It's Nerd Culture. Check out my show. It's called And I Quote, where I interview content creators of all shapes and sizes and promote their projects. It's a live show for each and every Saturday at 12 p.m. Eastern time. So make sure you check that out on our Facebook page at It's Nerd Culture. Other than that, you can catch me here when I'm available, maybe once in a blue moon, on This Week in the FCL. But it was good to be back here. It's good to be with all you fine gentlemen, even you, James Shimo. It was good to be in your presence as well. Wish you the best of luck with your endeavors, as well as the Sinister Syndicate, where I don't think that's going to work out very well. But your other projects, I wish you nothing but the best moving forward. Thanks for having me. It was great to be back on the desk, and it's good to see all you fine gentlemen again.
And it's a pleasure to have you here as well, Ryan, as it is to have you once again. A big thank you to our special guest, James Shimo. Please, please, please check him out and everything he is doing online. And don't forget to tune in to the FCL, where his Sinister Syndicate is running wild. That's going to do it for our show for this week. On this video, don't forget, you can like, you can share, you can subscribe, you can comment, any of that good stuff. And you can check us out in podcast form on your various podcatcher applications out there. The FCL continues next week as we work our way towards Warfare, and our show continues as we wrap up our season, and maybe we've got a few surprises, as Chris teased you right there, in store for you coming up on this very channel. A couple special things, maybe even soon, Shimo, we'll be talking to you about having you on one of our programs, and maybe some nice things to say about you and some of your fellow competitors in the FCL. Either way, we will, of course, be joining you right here next week to talk about everything that happened this week in the FCL.